Welcome to a special edition of West Wing Week, featuring a summer social media mailbag Q&A session with White House staffers. But before we get to your questions, here are a couple of scenes from the President's Week. Convening meetings with his national security team and with Attorney General Eric Holder, the President was at work on the situations in Ferguson, Missouri, and in Iraq. The President took to the Brady press briefing room and discussed the recent work alongside Iraqi forces to recapture the Mosul Dam. Then he turned to the situation in Ferguson, Missouri, and the federal response to the tragic death of 18-year-old Michael Brown.
That's how we're going to move forward together, by trying to unite each other and understand each other and not simply divide ourselves from one another. We're going to have to hold tight to those values in the days ahead.
Our first question is from Twitter. What are you doing for us out-of-college young adults with massive loans and a tough job market?
Since the President took office, he's focused on college affordability as one of his top priorities. And that's because getting some education after high school, whether it's a four-year degree or a community college degree, is so important to working your way into middle class. That's why one of his first things was to reform the student loan system, to eliminate subsidies for big banks, and reinvest those savings in increasing scholarships for students. He also created the American Opportunity Tax Credit, which is worth $10,000 over 4 years of college. Another important thing that he has done is a student debt plan, where he has taken executive action to limit student debt payments to 10% of income. And that's going to allow us to say to every young person in America that we can guarantee that you'll be able to afford your student loans because we'll base your payments on what your income is. The President believes very much that higher education is a necessity, and it should be something that's available to everyone, not a luxury for a few.
Higher education is still the best ticket to upward mobility in America, and if we don't do something about keeping it within reach, it will create problems for economic mobility for generations to come.
Now we have a question on inversions. What's an inversion? Well, we went to the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors to find out.
I have been working with the President for years to help him both close abusive tax loopholes, but also make America an even more attractive place to invest and create jobs. And I wanted to give you a short answer, but there's a lot of other information about this question on the White House website. In brief, right now you're seeing some companies change their corporate address to an overseas address. They then are still supposed to pay taxes in the United States, but they use a variety of techniques to ensure that the profits they're really earning in the United States appear on their books as if they're earned overseas. As a result, they can effectively avoid paying taxes in the United States. That's something that ends up costing you money because you have to pay higher taxes or you have to get by with fewer government services, which is why President Obama is working to close this loophole.
Our last question came to us on Instagram. How many rooms does the White House have?
We received a question online, which seems like it should be pretty straightforward to answer, but it's actually not. There's many spaces in the White House that have been stable essentially since the House opened in 1800, but there's many other spaces that have changed where we've had walls added, walls knocked down, and that to change the overall number. We've also had floors added here at the White House. Originally, we were just a 3-story house, and now we have a total of 6 stories, including 2 underground levels. So the number we've used for a long time is 132 rooms, and of course that doesn't even include the East Wing and the West Wing, which are also part of the White House complex. If you're interested in learning more about history and the furnishings of the White House, I encourage you to check out the Google Art Project, which filmed the White House in amazing detail a number of years ago. So you can really go in depth and look at our objects up close.
You can find out more about any of these topics and stay engaged with us not only at whitehouse.gov, but also on Instagram,
Vine,
Pinterest,
Twitter,
Tumblr,
Vimeo,
Facebook,
Foursquare,
YouTube.